Welcome to The Kid Stays in the Podcast, where we explore the Robert Evans axiom that memories shared serve each one differently. As we continue our exploration of our love of films with Isaac Altman and Cade Miller, and they invite their dads, Ashley Miller and Mark A. Altman, that's me, to join them to talk movies. Welcome back, guys.
It's so good to be back.
So good to be back.
So good to be back. Well, you know, Isaac and I have really gotten into this cool thing. I don't know if you guys have discovered it yet. It's called Letterboxd, and it's an app where you can post your reviews and your ratings for all the movies you watch.
Well, yeah, I haven't messed around with that. I've heard of it. I haven't used it. But you know, as you guys know, I'm kind of a shrinking violet about stating my opinions on movies. I try to avoid opportunities to talk about them. So I don't know if that intersects with my interests.
You know, the problem is, like, what happens when you get to your own films? It's like, well, let's see, Thor. How many stars should I give that?
All
X-Men
the
First
stars.
Class. I had no problem giving 5 stars to Free Enterprise, and I didn't even think it deserved 5 stars. But I'm like Al went and I'm just giving it 5 stars. I cheated. I changed the conditions of the test.
Yeah, you use proto matter. What?
That's oh my God.
Like, see, my problem with those kind of apps is that nobody can really have a decisive idea of what each star rating means. Because, like, you could give it, one person could think a 3.5 is just like okay. Another person could think 3.5 is like good. Like it's kind of subjective in that way, and so it makes the reviews a bit more like mixed up as to what like they're trying to say.
You are so right.
It allows me to yell at people and tell them they're wrong. So that's my enjoyment.
No, because our Isaac's sister, she totally has a different scoring system. She's much more, she's really into the Letterboxd too. And she's much more charitable, I think, than Isaac and I have. Like, to me, like, there are very few 5-star movies. Like, maybe they're like 10 or 15 5-star movies ever made, right? You know, maybe a little more than that. 4.5 is like incredible, but it's not perfection. You know, to me, like, a good movie is a 3-star movie. A really good movie, entertaining, is 3.5. Once you get to 4-star, I really am very kind of reluctant to even get into 4. But she's like, how do you not like this? You only gave it 3 stars. I'm like, no, I do like it. She's like, well, why don't you give 4 stars? I said, because 4 stars is too generous.
Mark, I have to, okay, so this is you. When she asks you that, how hard is it for you not to look at her and say, do you know who I am? I mean, so just so the boys understand it.
You can't ask your kids that, because you know what they say? Who the hell do you think you are, you loser?
You should. I didn't meet Mark until long after I knew who Mark was. When he was writing for Cinefantastique and he was reviewing, seasons of The Next Generation and rating those episodes, I read those reviews voraciously. So I feel like I had internalized Mark's scale by the time I actually met him. But it's odd to me that your children haven't, just through osmosis.
I feel like everyone should understand. It's not that hard to understand. Yeah. Like, Isaac gets it. He doesn't go willy-nilly giving 5 stars to things.
I'm the complete opposite, because I would totally give something like Cocaine Bear 5 stars just because it's funny.
I gave Plan 9 5 stars just because I wanted to. That's the only time I haven't been legitimate about my opinion.
Yeah, because he felt he wanted to be to respect Ed Wood, his passion. Which is, you bring up a good point, because, like, I had a real problem rating the Oscar, which is, because on one hand, it's a 5-star movie for entertainment. It's a 1-star movie for quality. So what do you give it? It's like, do you rate it because it's so wildly, awfully entertaining, or do you rate it for the quality of the film? So that was a really tough one. Guilty pleasures are really tough to rate.
Right. I mean, they almost need their own special star system. But the truth of the matter is, a guilty pleasure is pretty binary. It's like it's a 1 or a 0. It's on or it's off. It either is or it isn't. Yeah. And it's one of those things where, as Samuel L. Jackson said about Snakes on a Plane, you either want to see that shit or you don't. I mean, and that's every guilty pleasure ever made.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because they do say, I guess that what they would say is, why don't you just review it where you can say more? But then that's too much work. It's like, they don't want to pay me to review it. It's like, I don't like to write for free. It's like, I'm happy to beep, bop, boop, boop, put stars. But then they say, oh, but, wouldn't you like to add a review? It's like, not really. It's like on Amazon, where they're always sending me for days after I buy something. Would you like to write a review? Not if you're not going to pay me. It's like, I'm not writing a review for free. It's like, I get paid to do that. So it's like, that's where that thing falls down for me. It's like, I'm not really that interested in writing reviews. I don't have time to write reviews of stuff. Yeah, I really like this movie. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, I'll definitely check out Letterboxd, and I'll start throwing down star ratings, and I'll wait for Isaac under his anonymous account to start beating up on me for my opinions.
No, I think it'd be great. I really want to see what you rate X-Men First Class.
Oh, I'm rating all my shit 5 stars. Please.
Yeah, as you should.
Cody Banks, 5 stars.
All right.
Yeah,
wait, Dad, what's your username so the listeners can,
Oh, what's my username?
What is your username?
It's Carson Dial.
Username.
I fight for the users.
From Charade. And you're going to start your accounts as soon as we finish recording.
Yeah.
And then mine is Isaac_Altman. So you guys.
So I will know who you are.
Yeah, you will, but that's my main account.
Some
What about
punk
my
kid
secret
starts
ones?
kicking my ass over my 5 stars for Howard the Duck.
And then we'll add each other,
Fool,
so
I
you
have
can actually
17 alternative accounts.
well, you can track who we added Steve Melching, and we added from the 430 movie, so you can see who else they're following, and then so if you track one of us down, it's easy to add the rest of us.
Okay. So what you're saying is, don't choose a name like Sock Puppet 596.
No, I would go as simple as possible. So so it's easy to actually find you guys and to promote it at the end of the show every week. I don't have to have
right.
And don't forget, also you could find Ashley at This Is My List of Movies 652-89 69. It's like I don't want that. Just like something simple.
Okay.
No. So, and then that way people can follow you and they can see what your stars are giving him. Maybe if you're reviewing stuff, I don't know. Maybe you're not, going to be as difficult as I am about this whole reviewing thing. I hate that.
Got me all like, oh yeah. Crap,
like maybe Letterboxd, I would review a few things because I want to call attention to the movies that I love that people don't know about, like we do on this podcast. But I'm not reviewing like, you got this roll of paper towel on Amazon. Tell us what you think. It's the quicker picker upper. No, I'm not doing that.
Bobcat inside. Would not buy again.
I mean, and then I'm like an idiot too. Like, I'm thinking about, you want to get a new microphone or something. So you go on Amazon, you start reading the reviews to see it's like, I wouldn't take this advice from these people. If I saw them on the street, I'd probably cross the other way. But when they have a review on Amazon, I'm like, this guy thinks I should really spend a little more on this microphone because it's better quality. I'm like, why am I listening to these people? I can't help myself. Oh, well, this one has, 300 5-star reviews, so this must be good. You don't think it's like, oh yeah, because it's cheap. It's like, you don't know what the criteria is. I don't know. There used to be experts who would write reviews, and then you would listen to the experts.
If look, I've got a really great Yeti Blue right now that I'm very happy with. But if I ever decide to get a high-end microphone, I'm not going to read reviews. I'm just going to call or text somebody I know who owns high-end microphones.
Yeah, that's what I did with my when my Apple monitor with the built-in camera broke, which was gorgeous, which I loved, and I had to buy a new external camera. I called up Rob Burnett because he does this for a living. Because every day he does his YouTube show. I said, Rob, what camera should I buy? And he told me. I didn't need to go on, some website and read 1,000 reviews to figure out what I should get. I just called Rob, and he answered.
Call Rob.
Yeah, and he had an answer for me. I knew he would. And
is that our takeaway for today's show? Call Rob.
Call Rob.
No, that's definitely not the.
Boys are many things. When you have questions, you should not call Rob.
The reason we're talking about this Letterboxd is Letterboxd has an interesting thing when you join, they ask for your 4 top movies. Top movie, right? Isaac's 4 top movies?
Yeah.
They're 4 top movies. So so we thought today would be interesting, particularly people who are just discovering the podcast, to get a sense of our individual taste. In the past, we've dealt with different themes, Indiana Jones movies or Star Wars movies. Today, just to get a sense of sort of the broad canvas on which I think all of you have such interesting perspective on film. And, I get this a lot too also. I think when I talk to people about some of my son's interests in movies, there's like, man, I can't get my kids to watch anything that's not in color that was made before 2004, and it's like, and with me, it's like Isaac has such a diverse palette of movies that he loves, from The Silence and stuff. So I think it's interesting to hear, like, you guys talk about the movies you love and why you love them. And, obviously Ashley and I can weigh in with our favorites as well. But I think for both of you, you have such an eclectic, your interests are so eclectic, and you don't seem to be scared of a lot of movies that maybe some of your peers might not be willing to embrace. I mean, I think I told this story on the Trexperts. I was visiting my brother, and my lovely niece, who's 8 years old, watched The Wizard of Oz for the first time. And she said, it was great. Only I wish that the rest of the movie was in color too. Jesus. And at that point I left 2 days early and came home. But, no, not really. But I proceeded to get into a screaming match with an 8-year-old kid.
Look at what you did.
So anyways. So, like I said, Letterboxd asks like your favorite movies of all time, which is always tough because sometimes you're in a different mood. You embrace different things. But for the sake of the show, why don't you give us one of your top 4 favorite movies of all time, Caden, and tell us why.
I mean, I do have a list in my head. I'm just kind of thinking where I want to start with this, because I think
save your most favorite for last. Let's do it that way.
See, now you're just making it harder. You're not helping at all.
Sorry, that's no, this is like a real parent thing here. I tried to help him and I made it more complicated.
You made the test more. It's like when they have a test at school that they're really worried about. And you're like, don't worry, you're going to do great. You're studied, right? You're ready. It's like, don't help me. Don't be so helpful.
Stop.
I don't need, it's fine. Just, you're making me more stressed out now.
Sorry, pal. Pretend I said nothing.
Okay. In that case, I will start off with probably, I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure, but I would not say that this is like a great film, but I love it, so I don't care. Godzilla Final Wars from 2004.
The most destructive weapon on Earth. This final mission will decide the fate of the human race. This is Operation Final War.
Godzilla, お前の強さを確かめさせてもらう。
俺たちは家畜じゃない。人間だ。Godzilla
Final Wars. さらば、ゴジラ。
That's such an unhinged choice, child. Tell us,
That is
tell
such
us about it.
you are truly a Miller. In case I had any doubts that you were truly Ashley Miller's progeny, I now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you were born on a Wednesday.
You know what's funny? He was born on a Wednesday.
It all makes sense now.
That's going to be the title of his autobiography. Born on a Wednesday.
Born on a Wednesday.
by Caden Miller.
Big Wednesday.
That's right. But we did say favorite movies, not what we think are the best movies we've ever seen.
Absolutely.
So tell us about Godzilla Final Wars, Caden.
So, I mean, because we're obviously talking favorite movies, this film, it's just cool. And because I remember it was one of the first Godzilla movies that I ever watched. How old was I when we started going through
Maybe
them? Like,
6 or 7?
I feel like it was 8 or 9.
8 or 9. Okay, 8 or 9. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
By the time you were 9, you had an encyclopedic knowledge of Godzilla movies. So it must have been like 8 or so. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you know anything about the taste that 8-year-olds have in films, it's basically the cooler that it is, the better. And that film is so cool. Like Don Fry pilots a flying drill plane and treks by baiting Godzilla through the Arctic, where he fights a giant mechanized bird, and then goes back, kills the 1998 American Godzilla. Which, fun fact, the CGI model that they used in that film for the 1998 Godzilla was scanned from a toy, just kind of out of a mockery of that film. And it's set to ALTMAN, while Godzilla throws Zilla into the Sydney Opera House and then blows him up.
It's like Gladiator, only different.
I hope Dean Devlin isn't listening to this episode.
Well, he's not paying for it anymore, so there you go.
Wow, that's interesting. I want to see that.
It's pretty nuts.
That sounds interesting. Wow, that's crazy. So that's your first pick. It's Godzilla Final Wars.
Yeah.
Godzilla. Okay, I'm going to write this down so that I see if you had a letterbox.
Then reviewed on Letterboxd.
Not easy, but you will soon. So, but anyway, okay. So you heard what young Master Caden had to say, Isaac. The gauntlet has been thrown to you. What's one of your favorite movies of all time?
For me, I mean, out of my 4, this is probably my second favorite, but I'm going to talk about it since I've talked about Casablanca a lot. So I'm going to talk about a different one instead. For me, it's David Lean. Yeah, David Lean's The Bridge on the River Kwai.
Of this camp, you British prisoners have been chosen to build a bridge across the River Kwai. If you work hard, you will be treated well. But if you do not work hard, you will be punished.
Go on without me. That's an order.
You make me sick with your heroics. There's a stench of death about you. You carry it in your pack like the plague. You and that Colonel Nicholson, you're two of a kind. Crazy with courage. For what? How to die like a gentleman. How to die by the rules. When the only important thing is how to live like a human being.
My name is Nicholson.
Give me the book.
Well, by all means. You read English, I take it.
Do you read Japanese?
I'm sorry, no. But if it's a matter of precise translation, I'm sure that can be arranged. You see, the code specifically states that the...
Kill him! Kill him!
Could have done it. I was ready. Let's go.
The bridge on the River Kwai, played against the naked canvas of war. Here is a vast panorama of human emotions, the courage and dignity of men who fight for their convictions, the humor of soldiers in the midst of tragedy.
I thought you were the enemy, sir.
Well, I'm an American, if that's what you mean.
The tenderness that springs from the heart.
You're lovely.
The beauty and brutality that is war on an island in the jungle. The Bridge on the River Kwai is a motion picture achievement by a combination of brilliant creative talent. Produced by Sam Spiegel, who gave you The African Queen and On the Waterfront. Directed by David Lean, who made Brief Encounter and Great Expectations.
We saw it at the Academy Museum in, I want to say, July.
Well, they both involve the Japanese. They have a lot in common.
Yeah, exactly. And there's explosions at the end and mechanized things and dudes with mustaches. It's great.
Go ahead. Isaac.
Sorry, Isaac, we're being a-holes.
And it quickly became one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, and it's, even though it's like a war movie, it's surprisingly like funny, but just because like the characters are so smart and so well written. Oh, I saw it July 7th, 2024. But I just think that it's the characters are very well written. The direction is amazing. And I mean, I'm not going to spoil the end, but it's one of the most visually spectacular shots I've ever seen in a movie. And just seeing it on the big screen was great. And I mean, besides Lawrence of Arabia and, Star Wars, I hadn't seen Alec Guinness in anything else, but he really he was amazing in this. And I really saw how great of an actor he was.
That's such a great pick. Caden, I don't know if you know this or not, but that was my that was your grandfather's favorite movie. And it's truly great. I especially love the bit at the end when Alec Guinness is talking to Mark Hamill and he says, I got mixed up again. Sorry. No. It is.
Where he says, I was not working with the Japanese from a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view.
I did not betray the British from a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view.
It's brilliant. It has one of my favorite last lines of all time. It's a great pick.
It's so great. And how do you know? Because you mentioned the date you saw it. You keep a journal. Is that it?
I started in 2024. I started writing down every movie I saw, starting with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and just kept writing it. And I guess rating it, which helped with my expand the Letterboxd account. But it's good to know, when I saw things, where I saw things.
So you put the date, the movie, where you see it?
Yeah, I put the movie, the date, the location, thoughts, and ranking. And
how do you rank it? 1 to 5 stars?
Out of 10.
Oh, out of 10. Okay. So it's not the Letterboxd rank. It's a different rank.
Well, they have half stars. So,
how many stars did Kwai have?
10. Because second favorite movie of all time, I would hope it has a 10.
Yeah. And you mentioned Casablanca, which you've talked about on the show before.
Yeah, and then my other two on my Letterboxd are The Godfather and 12 Angry Men, which I saw. And we saw 12 Angry Men this year.
On the point of that knife, A man's life is at stake.
I'm just saying it's possible. And I say it's not possible.
I want you to watch this because I don't want to have to do it again. I'll make myself about 6 or 7 inches shorter, okay?
It's about right, maybe a little more.
Okay, a little more.
Look out. Here's what I think happened.
How can he be positive about anything?
I don't understand you people. I mean, all these picky little points you keep bringing up, they don't mean nothing.
You are going to try a man for murder. The awesome power to kill will suddenly be thrust into your hands.
Watch them and pray, for someday you may become one of them. 12 men with the smell of violent death in their nostrils.
What's the matter with you guys? You're letting them slip through our fingers. Slip through our fingers? Are you his executioner?
You cut it.
Ever since you walked into this room, you've been acting like a self-appointed public avenger.
Shut up.
You're a sadist.
12 men turned into 12 clawing animals.
Had you seen it yet when we watched it, or it had been a while since you saw it?
What, 12 Angry Men?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I forgot how great it was. That's actually been the joy of rediscovering so many of these movies with Isaac, in that I'm seeing movies that I haven't seen in some cases since high school, like I haven't seen in a long time, and seeing them again, look upon them with new eyes. It's like, I hadn't seen 12 Angry Men probably since high school, maybe. And, I remember it being good, but like I watched it with Isaac and it was like, oh my God, this movie's so great.
No,
so
Fight
great.
Club is a remake of that, right?
Fight Club's a remake of that. I wonder when you'll see Fight Club. They're coming out with a new 4K. I guess Fincher's working on it now, so
nice.
We'll see. Those are all great movies. Those are all great movies. And just to finish this thought, because then I want to get to your second pick, Caden. But we watched. Isaac said to me on Friday, he said, "I'd like to watch the Dollars films, or at least the first one. Watch Fistful of Dollars." And I said, "That'd be great, because I'm always up for a Western, right?" So we watched Fistful of Dollars, and he loved it. So then he was like, "Okay, so tomorrow we got to watch For a Few Dollars More." I said, "You're not going to get an argument from me." We watched it, loved it. And then he says, "So what about the next day we watch Good, the Bad, and the Ugly?" So I'm all down with that. Now, I forgot how good these movies are. Like, I love these movies, but they were even better than I remembered them. And there's nothing better than, again, this is the Harry Chapin Cats in the Cradle. I know they go out and they never had time to go play ball and do all this stuff, throw the ball around, whatever. Who cares? We watched the freaking spaghetti westerns together. That's so much. Harry Chapin didn't have that in mind when he was writing the song, but man, that's no regrets. I can always look back and say, you know what? We watched Clint Eastwood movies together. That's all a father and a son could really ask for in life.
Very quick pop quiz. I mean, it just doesn't have to be a big conversation, but just a pop quiz, because I need to test Isaac a little bit. Of the three, which one of them is the best?
Okay, see.
No debating. Just pick one out of your head, whichever one you think is the best.
It's a tie between 2 and 3. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, you're wrong. It's not a tie. It's number 2. Anyway, so.
That's funny, because we were just having that conversation, and it's interesting, because he was actually saying that For a Few Dollars More, he liked a little better than.
I never.
You did, and now you're like hemming and hawing, but you were saying you liked it a little bit better.
I never said.
All I know is there are two kinds of people in this world: kind with guns, and the kind who dig. You dig. That's from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But still, cool. But yeah, maybe we should talk about westerns sometime.
Caden, it's funny. I wanted to talk about westerns at some point, but I wasn't sure how interested you were in westerns. Is westerns something that you have any interest in at some point in the future?
I think in the future I'd be down to do westerns. I mean, it's not really a genre I've really explored in terms of film, but I'd be down to check some of those films out. Is
cool. Okay, well, we'll definitely have to consider that for the future. That'd be great. So number 2, what's number 2 on your list?
Well, I think Isaac brought it up much earlier. So I'm just gonna get it out of the way. Casablanca.
Casablanca, city of hope and despair, located in French Morocco in North Africa. The meeting place of adventurers, fugitives, criminals, refugees lured into this danger-swept oasis by the hope of escape to the Americas. But they're all trapped, for there is no escape. Against this fascinating background is woven the story of an imperishable love and the enthralling saga of 6 desperate people, each in Casablanca to keep an appointment with destiny.
I was willing to shoot Captain Reno, and I'm willing to shoot you. All right, Major, you asked for it.
You knew how much I loved you. How much I still love you.
I know a good deal more about you than you suspect. I know, for instance, that you're in love with a woman. It's perhaps a strange circumstance that we both should love the same woman.
What do you want for Sam?
Don't buy and sell human beings.
That's too bad. That's Casablanca's leading commodity.
You can ask any price you want, but you must give me those letters.
That's all.
I tried to reason with you. I tried it. Now I want those letters.
I feel like this movie is I think it's very important to me because I think after first seeing it, it kind of changed my perspective on what a movie can be and what it can do, and how it can, in the themes that a film can explore on its own, even and how well it can convey something. And I think that film does a very good job of getting its message across. And with it's brilliantly written. It's very well shot. I have a lot of respect for that film.
I was going to say, I love that your spectrum so far is Godzilla Final Wars and Casablanca, which is fantastic. I love everything about that. That speaks to a lot. I remember taking you to see that and just being impressed at how into it you were and how you talked about it afterwards. It's very affecting.
I'm so glad to hear that because I don't want to live in a world in which people don't know what Casablanca is. And there's so many people. Growing up, it was unthinkable that there would be people who don't know what Casablanca is, don't know who Bogart is, don't care. And it was on TV all the time, and it went without saying that everyone loved Casablanca. Obviously, there's that great scene in When Harry Met Sally when it's a sort of a ritual talking about Casablanca on late night television. But it does seem that that's a film that less and less people necessarily revere and know about, and that's sad. because it's a masterpiece. 5 stars on Letterboxd.
It really is. I will say just quickly for my part on Casablanca, and to kind of give you an idea, to kind of contrast with Caden's film education. I'll just say it right up front. Caden, when I was your age, my film education sucked. I mean, I loved movies. I truly did. Like, I did go to Blockbuster Video, which is where you got your videos, or wherever it was, all the time, and rented movies, right? But they were all within a very particular band of time, right? I had to get it. And it wasn't until I got to college and I got the idea out of my head. It's not that I didn't watch movies like Casablanca or whatever because I thought, oh, it's black and white and it's boring. I was afraid it would be pretentious. And at some point in college, I think it was after I saw Henry V, I got all of that kicked out of me. And so I actually started going back and watching things like that and really learning to appreciate them. And I fell in love with Casablanca. And I fell in love with it. I'm so happy that you did it. I mean, part of me wishes that I had done a better job as a geek dad of leading you to Star Trek. But I am glad that I feel like I've done okay saying, hey man, let's take advantage of the fact that like now we're living in the 2020s and we do get opportunities to go and see some of these movies on the big screen, and taking you to go and see them. It's and it's just I'm glad that it's having this kind of an impact on you.
Yeah, because I feel like it's one of those films where everybody has seen it knows that it's great, but it's not something that is as universally talked about as something like The Godfather, where, I mean, The Godfather's great, but it's like, it's so often talked about that, like, I feel like in a way it almost loses its impact. And I feel like that's why I love Casablanca so much more than I will ever love The Godfather.
Yeah, it's funny, Ashley, you mentioned, that maybe you feel you dropped the ball because, Caden did develop this passion for Star Trek. Now, in my case, Isaac, fell in love with Star Trek, the good Star Trek, last year. But, if I was given a choice between, he was only going to love classic movies or love Star Trek, I would immediately say I'd rather he embrace classic movies, because there's so much more to learn and there's so much more complexity and artistic importance to, film and the diverse array of films. We just saw September 5th this week, and, it's like, but you just like the amount of history and the amount, of things that you can learn from them. Not that I'm in any way diminishing Star Trek. I think Star Trek obviously is great. I love Star Trek, but that was a bonus. Like, Star Trek was like, the fact that Isaac's into Star Trek now is like a bonus, but, I didn't necessarily feel like, oh my God, I hope he's cursed with the same love of Star Trek that I am. And it is a curse.
Plus, half of Star Trek's best is inspired by classic movies.
So. That's true. That's true too. If you really want to understand Star Trek, you need to see, and we talked about this on Treksperts, Enemy Below and, Run Solid, Run Deep, and a lot of these great, and in the case of Deep Space Nine, a lot of these World War II Men on a Mission movies.
Yep.
Stuff. Okay. So, Isaac, that number 2 for Caden was Casablanca. You got another film for us?
So recently, this was very recent. This was a few weeks ago when my mom and my sister were out of town. Me and Dad decided to do a double feature. This double feature was Michael Mann's Manhunter and then Silence of the Lambs.
You spook easily, Starling?
Not yet, sir.
He's past the others. The last cell. I'll be watching. You'll do fine.
A killer is on the loose.
Keeps them alive for 3 days. Then he shoots them, skins them, and dumps them.
A rookie FBI agent is on his trail.
He's got real physical strength, cautious, precise, and he's never impulsive. He'll never stop.
But in order to track him down, she'll have to match wits.
I'll help you catch him, Clary.
Believe me, you don't want Hannibal Lecter inside your head.
With the darkest of all minds.
Just do your job, but never forget what he is.
Oh, he's a monster. Pure psychopath. So rare to capture one alive.
So close to the way you're going to catch him. Do you realize that? Oh, Clarice, your problem is you need to get more fun out of life.
You told me you don't spook easily.
You call this easy, sir?
Lecter's missing an arm. Man's a raving maniac. Who knows what he'll do?
Thank you, Clary. Thank you.
Well, the cat's out of the bag now, and the bag's in the river.
Well, I already told her, and I dealt with the consequences. Well, you did. I didn't get yelled at. But Silence of the Lambs, like, you hear so much about it, and when it comes to me and Caden's generation, it feels like when people talk about when our generation talks about classic movies, Silence of the Lambs is usually talked about, I think. And I mean, I wouldn't consider it really a classic movie. I mean, it came out in 1991, but I thought it was amazing. And I thought Hopkins was great. Foster was great. And it was a very interesting and great movie that I really enjoyed. And the score and the Howard Shore score was also amazing too.
Yeah. It's funny. I used to talk about how I thought that Manhunter was better than Silence of the Lambs back, for a long time. And then we did the double feature, and no.
It's not.
Manhunter's
better than
Manhunter's good.
Yeah.
It's good. I enjoy it. But Silence of the Lambs, that class is
Silence of the Lambs is amazing. And I think, Caden, the only reason why I haven't sat down with you and said, let's watch it, is because we've had, part of our rule for how we've been doing this for the most part has been, is something like this playing on the big screen? So a lot of our process involves waiting for something to pop on the big screen, which Silence of the Lambs hasn't done. But for my 2 cents on Silence of the Lambs, I think look, obviously, Jonathan Demme's direction is amazing. It's incredibly suspenseful. It's thrilling. It looks great. It's so precise. The dialogue is amazing. But I think what makes it stand out is not just Anthony Hopkins' performance. It is the character of Hannibal Lecter and the fact that deep down, his story is really about a doctor who just wants to help his patient. That's the amazing thing about this film. I mean, that he is, when, Jodie Foster comes to him, when Clarice Starling comes to him and offers him freedom, right? Or offers him the thing that he wants, Oak Island, right? That's what you get, Dr. Lecter. The reason why he takes it has nothing to do with Oak Island. It's because, and it's not because he wants to manipulate Clarice Starling. It's not about, corrupting her or any of that stuff. You're afraid of that, right? Because that's what Scott Glenn told you to be afraid of. And that's what, Chilton told you to be afraid of. The reason why he takes it is he gets to be a doctor again. And she's a good patient. And that's the whole point of his call to her at the end. He's checking in. It's fabulous, but it doesn't beat you over the head with it. It's just a fabulous movie.
Yeah, it is great. But it's Plum Island, by the way.
Is it? Did I say Oak? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the hell with me.
Yeah, but
that's okay.
But which is funny because anybody knows the history of Plum Island. It's like they used to do chemical weapons experiments.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's Oak Island is where Blackbeard went and all that.
It was just, but it's great, and I'm so glad that we got to watch those films. So Silence of the Lambs is interesting, because with Caden we have Godzilla Final Wars and Casablanca, and Isaac Bridge on the River Kwai and Silence of the Lambs. Both of you have a very eclectic list so far. So, Caden, you got 2 more slots to fill. What are we looking at?
So I think for the third film I'm going to talk about, this was the hardest one to choose because there's a lot of films that I love. And so I think for my third pick, I'm going to go with Alien.
Okay.
That's a great choice. Obviously, my only caveat with that is since Isaac has not seen it yet, no spoilers.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think without spoiling it, I think Alien has some of the best like filmography and shot direction in like any film ever. It is, I mean, it's brilliantly shot. The score is excellent. It's just, and I think it's really helped expand what kind of films I go to watch now. Cause it's obviously a horror film, and I kept away from horror films for quite a while. Cause, and then I think we saw Alien early 2024, right, Dad?
Yeah. When they did the 35th, is it 35th or 45th anniversary re-release?
It would
I can't do math anymore. 45th anniversary re-release.
Yes. Okay.
Right? Yes.
Something
like that.
Yeah.
It's a re-release. Yeah.
1979. So it was either 30 or 35th.
Oh yeah. Okay. See, math, kids. It's just.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of.
What am I talking about? 45th.
Okay, see, we can all agree now.
We can do math.
Yeah. This isn't the kids stay in the math cast.
Yeah, God forbid. We're not on that. We wouldn't be on that one.
The math stays in the podcast. Okay. Anyway, sorry, Caden. Go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah, so I think it's expanded my palette into like being able to enjoy like more horror-oriented films, and I think I owe a lot to that movie as well, because I think I just think it's great. I think obviously the creature design is great. And then from that, and since Isaac hasn't seen it, I don't really know how much else I can say without spoiling it. So,
well, then quick pop quiz.
Oh,
I can like just turn my audio off, and you can message me when you're done talking about it if you want.
Oh, that's a good idea. Why don't we? Yes,
okay.
la 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 la.
Yeah, okay,
so we're in la la mode. Go ahead. We've erected the cone of silence.
Okay, he's gone. He's gone. Okay. He's gone now.
He is gone forever. All right. So I think now that I can spoil it, I might honestly just end up not spoiling it. But I think obviously the way it's got one of like words are coming to me. I think it's got one of the smartest ways to like set up a character, and as in with obviously Ellen Ripley's character, who is like we have spent like the whole movie like with all of these people, and I think in a way it's brilliant that she isn't always the main focus, in that that every single person in that film feels like they could have been the last person alive. And then I think at the end, you understand why Ripley lives through the rest of the movie. It's because she was able to make the more difficult choices, which no one else was able to make throughout it. And it's what lets her survive through that. And I think that's really smart, because it helps make the other characters feel less like a plot device to get the story moving forward, and it like humanizes all of the characters in the film.
No, that's great. That's very astute. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. No, that's so true, and it's just a wonderful movie. And you're right, beautifully shot by Ridley Scott, and just it's the ultimate haunted house movie.
Pop quiz though, Hotshot, and I'm asking this for a reason. So, and just can be a quick answer: Alien or Aliens?
Well,
which one do you like better? Obviously, it's unless you're picking Aliens next, it's going to be Alien, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Alien. I do really like Aliens. I just feel like, I mean, it's still obviously Aliens is still greatly shot. It's got great score. I think the ending's really nice, but I feel like it kind of misses out on the point of the original Alien. And it's a fun movie, and I think it's, like I said, it's great. But I think the point of the original Alien is that it's about it's sort of a metaphor. I mean, it's not a metaphor, sorry. It's about how we as humans are have weakness, and we're not perfect. And that we will never be perfect, but we're able to persevere. And I think Aliens misses that.
Fair enough. The last thing I'll say about it, and it's very non-spoiler, Isaac can come back, is that what blew me away when we walked out of the theater was, and I asked Caden what he thought. The kid, the first thing you said to me was, "Dad, the sound design." It's I was like, oh my God, where did this kid come from? I love that, because you're right, the sound design is amazing. And especially you get to, and this is one of the reasons, by the way, why I would encourage you guys, I encourage anybody who's listening to this podcast, when you go to see these movies with your kids, if you can find the movies in a legit theater, if you can wait, if you think you can hold out, if you have the opportunity, take it, so that you get that true film going experience, right? And look, it's better to see it than to not see it. But if you can go plant your butt in a theater, be in a space where you're just ensconced for 2 hours or so, or maybe a little bit less, and just appreciate what it looks like when the projection is great, when the sound is great, when there's no temptation to pause, to get up, to do whatever. It's a different deal. And yeah, walking out of that movie was one of my favorite movie going experiences with you.
Yeah, when it comes to theater experiences, recently we went to see 2001: A Space Odyssey at the Aero Theater, and just staring at Doug Trumbull's ships, hearing the great music, just looking at everything. It was beautiful, and it's the science fiction movie, and it lives up to that name. And I mean, it was just, and I would not have felt the same if I was at home. I probably wouldn't have enjoyed the apes section as much as I did if it wasn't in a theater. But, I wasn't looking at my watch saying, oh, hey, we've been staring at these apes for
or
10
pressing
minutes.
Pause to go to the bathroom or to get some more popcorn.
Yeah, okay. Well, I have legitimate reasons.
Yeah.
I have to get popcorn and candy and stuff. But it was, when there was an intermission, in the middle, I was very disappointed. Well, I did have to go to the bathroom, but I was very disappointed because I was like, no, I want to see what happens next. And it was great. So it really does emphasize the importance of going to see certain movies in the theater.
And in some cities, it's easier than others, obviously.
That's true.
Obviously in New York and LA and some of the bigger cities. Chicago has good repertory. You've seen it, and Fathom does these screenings as well. Mm-hmm. So we just went to see, of all things, White Christmas in a Fathom screening. It was great.
It was, that was great too.
So,
I think that's how we saw Enter the Dragon and Star Trek 2 and Star Trek the Motion Picture was through Fathom.
But, even smaller cities, more and more, they have these, repertory theaters or occasionally are screening, classic films. And it's definitely, a lot of the universities have them as well. So it's definitely something to seek out because, certain films just demand to be seen on the big screen. Other films, if you have a big enough TV and you have 4K or good Blu-ray player, but, it was interesting. I was Trader Joe's yesterday buying groceries, and these guys, the cashier was talking to the bagger about, I'm gonna watch Blade Runner tonight. I got the, and then I might watch the two, and they were talking, you like that movie? He goes, yeah, it's good. And they're talking, and he looks to me to get, for my credit card. And I said, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire. And they just blew their minds. And it was just like, and I'm like, I hope you're watching, the 4K.
At Tannhauser Gate. Wait, no, that's not right.
Well, I got it as a gift and I'm playing it on my PlayStation. And I said, were you watching the theatrical or are you watching the final version? He goes, I got it on Blu-ray. I know, but there are 3 versions. Which you're going to watch? I was like, at that point, I'm like, yeah. So anyway, but I wasn't like I was talking to Charlie de Lauzirika, but I was happy because they were young and they were excited, and it was good. Okay, so there we got the 3 picks now from Mr. Cade Miller. Isaac, what's number 3? And then we're going to go to the big finale for each of you.
The big kahuna.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back to discussing 12 Angry Men because I want to. I know we discussed a little bit about it earlier, but it was amazing. Like, outside of the first and last scene, it takes place in one room. I mean, if you count the bathroom as the same room, which I do. And it's like, I'm not sure how many people in our generation would be fine just like standing there for like an hour and 40 minutes watching 12 people yell at each other. But
that's just Thanksgiving dinner at our house.
But it was just amazing. I mean, even though like until the end, you don't really know any of their names, each character, each jury member is so distinct and so original. You have Henry Fonda, you have Piglet, you have the old man, and
this is how they were billed, by the way. Everybody just needs to know that out there.
Just there's such personality within each character, and it's shot so well. And over time, your perspective on what's going on completely changes. And it just shows what happens when one good person, like one person who cares and gives a damn, like steps up and does what they know is right. Because Henry Fonda, he could have easily just gone, oh, you know what? It doesn't affect me. I'll just vote guilty and then I can be out of here and go home and leave this man to die. But he doesn't do that. And slowly, he brings out the compassion and the care in everyone else. And then by the time there's only the president from Superman 2 left and
General Zod
and the guy from On the Waterfront, you're just fascinated to see how things change. Either if Fonda convinces them with logic, or if he uses his emotion to change their mind. It's just a fascinating character. It's just fascinating character study. And I think it's one of the best screenplays ever written.
I love that that's your pick. I love the way you articulated it. It's what we said about the power of movies. I mean, the moral message. Sometimes you have to do what's difficult to do the right thing. And obviously Henry Fonda's in a really difficult spot, but he knows what's right and he commits to it no matter what the consequences are. It's also a showcase for some of the great character actors. I mean, E.G. Marshall, you mentioned, Henry Fonda wasn't a character actor, but so many. Piglet, you mentioned, of course, which is
Jack the Ripper.
John Fiedler. And
Red Jack.
Yeah, Jack the Ripper from Wolf on the Fold. And such a great cast and beautifully directed by Sidney Lumet. And I'm looking forward now, based on your love of this movie, to show you a bunch of other Sidney Lumet movies, like The Verdict and Dog Day Afternoon and stuff. That'll be really exciting. So,
not about a dog, by the way. Just going to throw that up.
Not indeed, but that's a great pick. Okay, so now Letterboxd has 4 slots for your favorite movies. This is your 4th and final gate runner. So, Caden, what's it going to be? What's your final four?
Fascinated.
So, if you remember what my dad said at the beginning about saving the best film for last, I actually did take that advice. So there were a lot of films that I considered that I almost picked for this, ranging from The Crow to The Big Lebowski, almost. But I think this was the only choice that I immediately went, yes, this needs to be on here. It's probably something that I think almost everyone's seen. Jurassic Park.
Since the beginning of time, man has searched the earth for evidence of its past. But while some have looked for clues to the mystery, one man has found the way to bring the mystery back to life.
I own an island off the coast of Costa Rica, and I spent the last 5 years setting up a kind of biological preserve.
Here, on this private island, science has defied evolution.
Where do you get 100-million-year-old dinosaur blood?
Genetics has mastered creations.
We've made living biological attractions so astounding that they'll capture the imagination of the entire planet.
And extinction is a thing of the past.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
What they got in there, King Kong?
None of these attractions are ready yet, of course, but the park will open with the basic tour you're about to take.
Hey, look at this. You see something?
Dinosaurs and man, two species separated by 65 million years of evolution, have just been suddenly thrown back into the mix together.
Can I touch it?
Sure. How can we possibly have the slightest idea?
You feel that?
What to expect?
Fences are failing all over the park.
Yeah, that's nice.
Phones are out too.
Gotta go.
Universal Pictures presents
Ian, freeze!
I can't get Jurassic Park back online.
an adventure 65 million years in the making.
Oh no.
This is just a delay. That's all it is. All major theme parks had delays. When they opened Disneyland in 1956, nothing worked.
But John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists. You sure we're safe?
Yes. Unless they figure out how to open doors.
Jurassic Park.
Probably my favorite film of all time. I think, at least in my opinion, the best score in almost any movie, like ever.
You're gonna get a fight, but that's okay.
You can fight me. I don't care.
Watch Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, the score for a few dollars more is better than the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But go ahead, Caden. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Go ahead.
Mark needs to eat more fiber. It's fine. Keep going.
Mark's doing his impression of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
So I think it has some of the best visual effects that still hold up. It's, even though it was made all the way back in the 90s, it's
all the way.
It was 30 years
I hate
ago.
this podcast.
It was 30 years ago.
When the internet was cans and string.
Oh God! I saw it in a theater at City Walk. Oh.
All those people must be senior citizens now who are still
Shut
alive.
up. Okay, continue without the references to 30 years ago.
I mean, when I was little, I was always like a dinosaur kid, and I still kind of am. And so I think that film, it was just kind of made to be for me. And I think it's probably just, of all the films I've ever seen, it's probably had the biggest impact on my life. And I think without it, there's so much stuff that I love, ranging from films to video games to whatever, that I just wouldn't have found if I hadn't of watched Jurassic Park. As young as I was when I watched it.
No, that's a great pick. That's exciting. And
let me tell you, he was super young when he watched, because the first time he watched it, I don't know if you remember this. Like you were 6, I think.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, because my
told me this story hundreds of times.
When it's like the scene where, like, what's his name gets eaten by the T-Rex. The first time the T-Rex shows up and just crunches somebody.
Oh, yeah, he eats the lawyer dude on the toilet.
Yeah, exactly. And Jen was like, "Are you sure he's going to be okay with this? Are you sure he should be watching this?" And I'm like, "Look, if it's too much for him, he's going to walk out. It's going to be fine, and we can pay for therapy later." But that scene happens, and you burst into laughter. You doubled over. You fell on the floor laughing. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this serial killer? What? He said, it's called Jurassic Park, but the T-Rex was in the Cretaceous. I was like, holy shit, man.
I mean, this is when we cut to the future and we see he's a paleontologist.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, well, look, he was the guy who was like always like, he would set up all of his dinosaur figures and he would rate them on their speed, strength, aggressiveness, and then he would like try to decide which one would win in a fight. And then we would film, and I still have them, these videos of dino battles. And sometimes he would come in and he would tell me what kind of shots that he would give me a shot list. He's 6 years old. Give me a shot list.
We can never let those see the light of day again.
Yes, we can. I think we can.
I'm gonna classify them.
Put them on the feed.
I'm gonna actually instead of becoming a paleontologist, I'm gonna join the FBI and I'm gonna classify them.
Oh my God, that's hysterical. Okay, Jurassic Park. That's great. So now, Isaac, what are you going to reveal for your fourth and final pick?
Well, there are so many films to choose from. I mean, there's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. There's The Godfather, which is on my letterboxd for it. Replace the Silence of the Lambs, and but there's 2001. But I'm going to go with one of Caden's options, Casablanca, because it truly is, in my opinion, the greatest movie ever made. Earlier, we talked about When Harry Met Sally, and that movie put me in a Casablanca mood, and we watched that New Year's Eve. So when it was New Year's Day, about 1 a.m, I thought to myself, hey, I want the first movie I see of the year to be great. So I was on my computer, and I turned on Casablanca. And I mean, I've seen it in the theater, I've seen it at home before, so I have the right to watch it on my computer if I want to. So I watched Casablanca till 3 a.m, and with my cat, and it was the first movie I saw of the year, and that was, a few days ago, but and I loved every second of it because it's a perfect movie. But Bogart's great, Peter Lorre's great, Claude Rains is fantastic. And it's just a movie that I adore. And, yeah.
This blew my mind. We watched When Harry Met Sally as a family for New Year's Eve. And then I thought everyone was going to sleep after the ball dropped. Little did I know that Isaac the night was only beginning for him. So he watches Casablanca. The next morning he told, oh, you know what I watched last night? Yeah, When Harry Met Sally. He goes, no, I watched Casablanca. I wanted it to be the first movie I saw of 2025. So it's like, anyway, I was like, oh my God, that's just so great because it was totally something I would have done.
I'll tell you, man, it's like I said when Caden mentioned it. I think it's such a great pick. And here's what I think is interesting about it. And maybe, it's worth asking, Mark, if this is true for you. But if you were to ask me, like, what are my 4 favorite movies, I would definitely tell you that Casablanca is on that list, which means that, at least on this podcast so far, that 3 out of 4 of us, 75% of the podcast agrees that Casablanca should be
just like the dentists who believe that you should try Wrigley's gum or something like that. So that's interesting.
3 out of 4 dentists suggest colon.
I think I could blow that out of the water, because to make it unanimous, Casablanca would also be on my top 4, and I believe it is on Letterboxd.
It's not.
It's not?
No, yours is North by Northwest, Citizen Kane, The Godfather, and Manhattan.
Oh, I got to change that. Casablanca should be on it. It's ridiculous that Casablanca isn't on it. I did it too quickly without thinking. Right. For the sake of this podcast, that's how we my number 4. So Ashley, you mentioned Casablanca. Obviously, I'd be interested to see how it compares to your son. What will your other 3 films be?
You can't pick Cloak and Dagger, by the way.
I know. I pick it too often.
Or X-Men First Class.
Or X-Men First Class. I would say, okay, we're talking favorites, right?
Yeah, favorites.
Yes.
Okay. So, after Casablanca, I think number 1 on that list is Big Trouble in Little China, which I once told Nick Reffin was basically the same movie as Casablanca, because they're both about emotionally unavailable men who don't want to get involved with the problems of immigrants.
That was on my short list as well.
God bless you, kid. I think then I would say, I don't know if this is necessarily ordinal. I would say Army of Darkness. It will always have a special place in my heart.
Also on the short list?
Also on the short list. And I have every edition of that film ever produced for physical media.
Which is a lot.
Which is a lot. And then, of course, Star Trek II. Now, again, this is is this the list of the things that I think are all the very best movies ever made? No. But if I had to pick a movie to watch and love, dude, come on, Star Trek II. I've seen that movie. I mean, I don't have to tell you, Jesus Christ, we got the Inglourious Rex, but I don't justify my Star Trek love. But I love Star Trek II.
I wish I knew how many times I saw Star Trek II.
God, me too.
It has to be. It's probably more than 200.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I've probably seen motion picture in the 200s. So Star Trek II might be in the 300s. Maybe?
I think that's it. That's probably the right number range for me too.
Yeah.
You guys have problems.
Yeah, we do.
I know we do, don't we? We've done a podcast for 7 years about Star Trek. That alone should disqualify us from any kind of rationality. It's ridiculous. I mean, how much is there really to say about Star Trek? Apparently a lot. Anyway, well, this was so interesting. This is so eye-opening. What interesting picks you both had. And just to refresh our memory, in case people want to go or their kids want to go in and seek this out, Caden's picks for his, and he'll put these on Letterboxd, I hope, with his Letterboxd account, were Godzilla Final Wars, Alien, Jurassic Park, and Casablanca. For Isaac, it was Bridge on the River Kwai, Silence of the Lambs, 12 Angry Men, and Casablanca.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Caden, I have to ask you really quickly, because there's one thing that surprised me, and maybe it got edged out by Godzilla Final Wars, or maybe I just don't know you at all. I wasn't truly surprised by any of your picks, but I was surprised that Jaws wasn't on your list.
That was like my funny enough. I think Godzilla Final Wars was in the safe list before Alien was.
Wow.
That says a lot. But I think Jaws was my I was going back and forth between that and Alien for quite a while.
Well, here's the good news. On Letterboxd, they also give you, what is it, top 15 you can do? Or is it top 10?
I don't know.
Yeah, they because they give you the 4, which goes on your profile, but then they ask you to do like your top 10 or top 15. So Jaws could definitely be included. I think it's on mine because it is my favorite Spielberg movie, above Jurassic Park. And his score is above Jurassic Park. But that's me. So if I didn't make dinosaur movies, I made avocado movies when I was a kid. So go figure. What do I know? So anyway, this was fascinating. You guys have such eclectic and interesting taste, and you articulated it so well. It's always fascinating to do the show because we always, I think, speaking for Ashley and myself, we learned so much. And I love that. So this was great. And I love doing this podcast. I'm glad we're back here in 2025. And we are going to get it going on a regular basis, bi-weekly. So there'll be 2 episodes of Kid Stays in the Podcast dropping. But of course, you can follow us on social. And where can they do that, Isaac Altman?
Oh, okay. So the Kid Stays in the Podcast Instagram is, I believe, the Kid Stays in the Pod. I mean, we haven't posted anything on there yet, but hopefully I'll try to change that.
Be more
diligent. My letterboxed is Isaac_Altman, and that's the same for my Instagram account and stuff. But and so that is where I am. And
what about you, Cade? Where you're gonna start a letterbox account, and we'll announce that next week. But you can also we'll follow you when you do, and then people can look on our accounts and follow you. But where else can they follow you on social?
Literally nowhere. For my mother's wishes, I don't really use social media as much. I might start doing it for the sake of the podcast, but
Just for the
sake of the podcast.
I'll wait.
See, Isaac started it for the sake of the podcast. Now he's it for the sake of antagonizing Zack Snyder fans.
There you go. And that's the problem. It's a disease. But anyway. Yeah.
And Ashley, where can they follow you on social?
Basically, because I'm an overgrown 12-year-old, you can find me on Instagram and X at Ashmaster0, which is a reference to the seminal Trey Parker, Matt Stone film, Orgasmo. That's where you can find me. You spell out the 0. It's not the 0.
It's not the 0.
Not the 0.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm at Mark A. Altman on X, Twitter, and now on Blue Sky, because a lot of people seem to have migrated over there. So I moseyed on down there as well. But definitely check out Kids Stay in the Pod. Of course, I'm on Letterboxd at Carson Dial, which is, as you should know, an homage to one of my favorite movies of all time, Charade. So
that's a great movie, dude. Stanley Donen, fucking great.
We'll get to it at some point.
Yeah,
we'll get there. When we do spy thrillers or suspense films, I'm sure that will be discussed. So, but we have what's so great, what's so exciting is you guys have such an amazing wide world of films. You've seen so many great movies, but there's still so many amazing films that you haven't seen, and of course, amazing films that haven't been made yet. So I envy you guys. It's very, very exciting. It's like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I'd love to have some of these movies I've seen erased from my mind so I can watch them again. So for the first time, which would be sort of cool. Okay.
If you watch it drunk the first time, it's a little like that.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, I don't recommend that. But anyway, thank you. Well, this was great. It's great to be back in the podcast, guys. And thank you, as always. And you can also email us at trexpertsplus@gmail.com if you want to send comments about the podcast and let us know what you think or have suggestions for future episodes or just want to lavish praise on our 2 hosts, Caden and Isaac, who are just so terrific. So
let us know if you want to kick Mark out of the podcast. We can arrange that.
You'll find a new person playing the role of Isaac's dad this week.
We're going to dare in your ass, Mark. That's what's going to happen.
Well, I'm looking forward to Mother's Day when it becomes the Mom's Day in the podcast, and you guys get to record
a bad concept
with your moms. Oh, that'll be interesting.
That would be really funny.
And then Father's Day, we'll get our dads on.
And then Father's Day, you'll get your dads on. That's right. Yeah, Anakin Skywalker. Okay, so anyway, thanks as always for listening. And until next time, save us the aisle seat. I can't believe we got to steal our catchphrase because
we'll eventually come up with one.
Yeah, well, we'll come up with one. But but we'll
give us a few more years.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. And thanks for joining the kids and their dads in the podcast.